What up, what up, what up? Welcome back to Lockdown Universe, home of the bizarre, peculiar, and unheard of stories of UFO legend and paranormal lore. Welcome back, welcome back. Happy to be back. Hopefully, you guys are doing well and take care of yourselves. So, today we're going to talk to you about a man who died and encountered an alien and multiple aliens during a near death experience. So, this is a really interesting story. I want to get into it. So, let's pull it up here. We have a retired firefighter living in California. His name's Bill Letson, Letson, who had a near-death experience in 1994 while he was on duty as a firefighter. He said he didn't want to tell anybody about it at the time. Obviously, you didn't want people thinking he's crazy or lose his job or lose his pension. But after he retired, he's like, I can say anything I want. So he said the memory started to come back a little bit more clearly. It started him on a search for answers. And basically he just wanted to explore, a whole bunch of ancient knowledge and get it into his vernacular. And he even went to the depths of learning about the teachings of shamans and Native American beliefs. So let's get into describing what happened to him when he when he was experiencing a flu epidemic, and the teams at the Santa Barbara hospitals were basically inundated with calls. Well, one of the calls brought him to a woman who was trapped in a dark room with the curtains shut, and she was hurting pretty badly. Bill acted quickly to climb up and get her out. He climbed up over her to put an oxygen mask on her face. Just as he adjusted the mask, she exhaled, and he accidentally inhaled her breath, and he immediately felt something was wrong. A couple days later, he became extremely sick, worse than he'd ever been before, vomiting, losing fluids, and becoming dangerously dehydrated. When he looked in the mirror, he saw that he looked pretty skeletal and dark, and he knew that something was pretty wrong. His heart was racing at 150 beats a minute. So, you could tell something was wrong. He tried to feel his blood pressure through his pulse, and he couldn't feel it, so he called 911. So they started him on IV fluids, and the hospital was packed with people suffering basically similar symptoms. So Bill stayed in the hospital for about a half an hour, receiving IV fluids, started feeling better, thought he could go home and continue treatment there, but the nurse told him that everyone in the hospital was receiving the same medication, and Bill wanted to cooperate, even though he wasn't feeling any pain or nausea. The nurse gave him 2 medications, synthetic morphine and another drug for nausea. As soon as the nurse injected the medication, Bill's wife saw his eyes roll in the back of his head almost like a cartoon, and he collapsed onto the hospital bed. So they immediately gave him Narcan, and even though it was administered multiple times, his blood pressure dropped dangerously low to 40 over 0, meaning his body basically wasn't circulating any blood. And he had been like a triathlete, he was in Ironman races, and basically this was like his body shutting down, his organs were shutting down. So throughout the night, while Bill was unconscious, he had an extraordinary experience. The morphine had caused his blood vessels to expand too much, making it impossible for his blood to circulate. And he describes the feeling as if he had been released from a hot, stuffy closet into a vast open space, and he found himself in a world filled with massive, glowing, colorful stars. These stars felt wonderful and full of love. Some people call them orbs, but to Bill, they appeared like energetic beings. He realized that in this form, he himself was actually a massive cloud-like energy being. The feeling was basically beyond anything he ever felt before. It was pure joy and freedom. And Bill describes it being like basically feeling like an overwhelming sense of joy, ecstasy, unlike anything else that he had ever experienced on Earth. And he compares it basically to like a cosmic sensation, as if honey were flowing through his brain and nerves, filling him with life and exhilaration. So that's really interesting. But he realized that being on Earth has a lot of challenges, and he moved through this experience. He suddenly remembered who he was, and he was shocked that he ever forgot. But, but anyway, yeah. So he found out that Earth was like an illusion, it was like a trick, it was like a game. So how does this sound to you if you were to pass away and then you just found out that like Earth was like an illusion or a trick or a game? That wouldn't feel too great, but as he flies through space at an incredible speed, there's colorful stars all around him. He feels everything like love, joy, and acceptance. Everything you'd expect from a near-death experience. But when he kind of stopped, he lands in a solid place, one that seemed basically real, structured, with indirect lighting, tables, and equipment. There were beings there, and in front of him stood three short, chubby figures that were wearing dark-robed hoods, and he could see parts of their faces, and they were smiling from ear to ear. Their eyes were bright. They asked questions excitedly, and they were giggling as they talked. And at first he felt kind of confused, and then he remembered the movie Communion that seemed kind of similar to the small elf-like beings that were in the movie. However, the ones in front of him were playful, good-natured, and full of mischief. And they asked him things like, "How was it? What can you tell us? What did you learn?" One of them looked at him, and they told the others that he doesn't remember us at all. And they all laughed, and Bill started to recognize them a little bit, but he felt pretty disoriented. And then another being appeared who seemed to be in charge, who was tall, thin, they said almost a thinner version of Gumby or a cactus. He looked as though he was made of vapor or mist, and when he moved, his body shifted to catch up with itself, as if it was being seen underwater. And he too had a smile and bright eyes, and even though it seemed like he was a leader, everything he did was playful and lighthearted, which is nice to hear. So when the tall being came close to Bill, yeah, he had an overwhelming sense that washed over him. His chest expanded, his throat tightened. He felt like he might burst into uncontrollable tears from the sheer amount of love radiating from this figure. It sounds like a Jesus figure, only looking like Gumby. The love was so intense that it was almost too much to handle. The environment around him isn't very structured. There's no strict order, just giggling, smiling, and a sense of fun. And during the near-death experience, Bill found himself in another place, not his body anymore, but with all these beings. And Bill shared that he had some regrets, about his life. They asked him about his life, so he figured he'd tell them. Like not taking a park ranger job on an island that his wife wanted him to take. But nothing really major came up. So then, this is when the tall figure told Bill it was time to go back. Bill was shocked, and he started refusing, saying there's no reason to return. He tried to argue that the only people that would miss him would be his wife and his parents. And even though they'd be sad for a little while, they would eventually be okay. And the tall figure found this very amusing and simply told him to go back. And then he had to go back. The three smaller beings disappeared as if reassigned somewhere else, and the whole place around him started breaking apart, and he felt himself basically descending, dropping to a lower frequency, which is interesting because we always feel like we're on a denser 3D world, simulation, whatever you want to call it. And he believes that reality exists in different dimensions, like various frequencies, like channels on a television. And as he got closer to his body, he passed through a terrifying place, one that he didn't want to admit existed for a long time. It was dark, lonely, miserable, and very close to the physical world. He warned that it's not a place anyone would want to stay in. After that, he re-entered his body. When he woke up, he saw that he was connected to a bunch of medical equipment. His blood pressure was pretty low. He drifted in and out of consciousness, noticing that his numbers were improving. And eventually a nurse noticed he was awake, and he told her he didn't understand why he was back, because he felt like he was already home, where he truly belonged. And the nurse responded to him with a little bit of humor. She said, "Honey, you were in escrow, but you fell out, and now you're back." Escrow, that's a weird name, weird way to put it. He wasn't clinically depressed, but he was basically pretty deeply upset about being back in his physical body for a long time. This is very common with people who have near-death experiences. After returning to his body, Bill felt this experience fading, like it was slipping away. He knew over time he could even convince himself that it didn't happen, but it did happen. And this is a strong story because Bill strongly believes that no one is ever really gone, not our loved ones, not our pets. They are still here, just in a different form, close to us in ways we might not even fully understand. So he started to share his story with other people in the Navy, like a Navy chief named Tony Woody, who had a near-death experience with a car crash, and he he was warned by a superior to stop talking about it. Bill experienced something very similar, and they basically told him not to talk about it. So it took him about 15 years, up until about 2025, to start talking about it. So it's interesting to see what people keep close to the vest, and so many other people might be experiencing these same scenarios, but keeping it quiet. I find it interesting that he had an experience with a Gumby-like character. It makes you wonder if he wasn't tripping, but who the hell trips about meeting small robed alien type beings, seeing energetic balls of light, feeling like you're floating, and that you are, a being of energy, and then encountering actual entities that are floating in front of you? I mean, it's very, very fascinating. I've heard many near-death experiences where the beings that they encounter are basically not even existent. Like they're in a black hole, and they experience nothingness. That there are no entities, and that's really interesting to me too, because I'm like, oh my gosh, well that sounds terrifying, but the void is what they call it, is not terrifying. They're just like, I'm experiencing consciousness. I'm just in a void. And then eventually somebody comes to meet him at the void. So that's interesting too. So what do you think about this story? Fake, real, indifferent? Have you had an experience that was similar to it? Love to hear what you guys have to say. I have not had too many near-death experience stories that I can talk about. But I can tell you that I know a lot about them. I've read many, many stories, and I'm fascinated about them, by them. So, anyway, let me know your thoughts. Put your comments in the comment section. I've been loving talking to the people in the comment section. Anybody that leaves a comment, I'm going to reply to. So, let me know your thoughts. Let me know your interests in future episodes. Love to hear what you have to say. And we'll keep moving forward. And I hope you guys are taking care of yourselves physically, spiritually, emotionally, following through on your hobbies and your goals and your dreams. And as always, continuing to question the universe around you. I'm enjoying learning about Tai Chi and Qigong right now. And well, I've been doing it for many years, but just continuing to learn more about the practice and how to channel Qi throughout my body, and then also to perform the art of Tai Chi just as a moving meditation. It's really, really, I feel like it's really, really good for me. And then there's all kinds of other exercises, like just kind of bouncing on your feet, kind of getting your the endocrine system moving about. and the lymphatic system moving about, getting things moved through the body, so you can think more clear-headedly. And I didn't do that this morning, and you might be able to tell. So I need to get going on that. So I hope you guys have a great day. Take care of yourselves, and we'll catch you next time. Lockdown Universe out. Peace.